I've heard your story several times, but maybe some of our listeners haven't. So maybe you can give us kind of I guess, at least a little taste, a short-ish version
Sure.
of your background. And
I'll give you the Coles Notes version. Uh, as a kid, I grew up on sort of fast food. My parents were busy. My mom was pretty sick growing up. So, Monday was pizza night, Tuesday was Chinese food. Yeah, it was what it was. Once in a while, I'd have a home cooked meal. But I was always really skinny to the eye. But I had these diseases of obesity and nobody could really figure them out. So at 12, I was diagnosed with fatty liver, and 14, I was diagnosed with PCOS. But the specialist told my parents, hey, don't worry, she's skinny. I was actually underweight, according to the BMI scale. So they said she'll just grow out of it. Like, she's not at high risk for any gnarly complications and all of that kind of jazz. And then as I got older and the PCOS didn't seem to go away, it didn't get worse. And, that's when conversations about, hey, maybe you want to freeze your eggs, if you've got the resources to do so, because,
oh, wow.
infertility and whatnot. So I had sort of this whole weird health metabolic syndrome as a kid, but I was quote unquote very underweight. So people just kind of wrote me off, and she'll grow out of it, hopefully, and maybe just do your due diligence around certain things just in case. But I became really interested in preventative medicine around the same time because my mom had this disastrous medical history. And I actually got fortunate. One of my father's friends had kids that wanted to study law, and I wanted to study medicine. So they swapped kids. So my dad's friend's kids went to study law at his firm, and I went to this guy's medical practice, which was a kidney clinic, a nephrology group. And they did a lot of prospective research and lifestyle intervention. And I just love that because there was this whole preventative medicine aspect to it that I just saw was missing even from a young age. So I started working at that clinic at 15 and was just really passionate about the whole preventative interventions that they were doing, and got, pretty deep into the research projects going on there. And I fell in love with it and this desire to try to slow down the progression of disease. So I hung out there. They just kept willing to employ me, and I just never left. And I stuck it out there throughout university, and then continued to work there afterwards. And sort of there was this point in my mid-20s where my own health journey and my professional journey kind of hit head on. Professionally, I got super burnt out from watching all of these people I was trying to help with these lifestyle interventions like the Canadian Food Guide just get worse and worse and worse. And the reason why was their diabetes was just becoming rampant. They were gaining weight, and it was causing kidney disease. And there was nothing you could do about that kidney disease unless you could treat the diabetes. And we're told, hey, it's a chronic progressive condition. You're just going to end up dying from it, complications related from it. So I thought to myself, oh, maybe I did the wrong thing. Maybe I should have gone to law school. And I started to take some time off and reevaluate what I was going to do with my life. And simultaneously, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, you got this metabolic illness or illnesses, and you have this horrendous family history. And I had some cardiac arrhythmias I was born with and had to have surgery for, and all that jazz. So I'm like, all right, you're taking time off to figure out your career, take time off to figure out your health. And started doing all of the due diligence, trainer, food guide, and ended up gaining a lot of weight and being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. So fortunately, a colleague of mine, Jason Fung, he's a medical doctor, nephrology is his specialty, and he was getting really frustrated career-wise like I was. He wasn't that much older than me, and it was just so heartbreaking watching all these patients die from diabetes. And he had started investigating fasting, talked me into fasting, and 6 months later, lost all the weight, had no more metabolic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, and the rest is kind of history now.
Wow. Yeah. So it's quite a story. And of course, people want to hear kind of a longer version of your story. I'm sure they can find that at some point on your podcast that you're doing. But yeah, it's interesting how you said working with this guy at this clinic, and maybe you were referring to Dr. Fung there where you mentioned that at the beginning, but yeah, no, I'm just saying that's kind of funny because, of course, he's become well known and all that through the books and everything that he's written.
Yeah.
But from if I'm understanding correctly, you kind of said that when you had these health issues, you went and did all the things that was kind of the traditional advice, and it got worse, more or less.
Yeah.
And then eventually you decided to try some fasting, and it got better. It's kind of sort of the way things
Yeah,
went.
I went against the grain. I don't know why I thought, I had just gotten like burnt out from work, watching people just get worse from all of these interventions. Follow the Canadian Food Guide, eat 10 times a day, work out with a trainer. I don't know why I thought that would be different for me. Insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting different results. And I got the same results as the patients were getting, but fortunately I was younger and while I had disease, it was not as progressed as so many of the patients. So I was really able to
Hmm.
get a hold of it, with fasting and turn things around.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe some of the advice that we get from the establishment is good, like, working out is good. But then, like you said, eating 10 times a day, like that advice that we've all probably heard over the years, that you need to eat small, frequent meals or eat all the time or all these different things like that.